The U.S. military accusing Russia of bombing an American-backed militia fighting ISIS. The attack happened in northern Syria. Troops of the U.S.-backed coalition were also present in northeast Syria, but were not injured in the bombing. Russia has not officially commented on that incident. Meanwhile, though, in Eastern Europe, Russia has spent the last 4 days conducting a major war game operation with its ally, Belarus. Some say this is the largest Russian war game since the Cold War. The drills cover a vast area of territory from Russia's western border all the way to the Arctic. In the past, Russia used military drills as a cover to invade and annex the Ukraine. The U.S. and NATO believe the drills could involve as many as 100,000 troops. Russia, on the other hand, says there are less than 12,000 troops participating. Earlier in the week, the U.S. sent new tanks to Poland as part of its routine heel-to-toe rotation of its armored brigade, but certainly nothing like the Russian drills.
Well, National Security Advisor General H.R. McMaster says the administration is still trying to resolve the conflict diplomatically, despite North Korea's latest missile test. At the same time, he did not rule out a military option. Greg Palcott joins us now, live from Seoul, with the very latest. Hi, Greg.
Hi, Liz. Yeah, more tough talk from General McMaster in a moment. But first, all attention focused on the Korean Peninsula, halfway around the world, on New York and the upcoming UN General Assembly meetings. The South Korean presidential office telling Fox News that in a phone conversation between President Trump and President Moon, the two agreed to strengthen their collaboration in the face of repeated provocations from North Korea. They will meet Thursday in New York with Japanese Prime Minister Abe on the sidelines of the UN meetings. Now, President Trump has been busy on several fronts. He sent out a tweet today referencing that call to Moon and also referencing Kim Jong-un, branding him a rocket man, also noting fuel shortages now popping up in North Korea. All this does come in the wake of the recent rocket, or more specifically, missile launch with Kim Jong-un in attendance. According to National Security Advisor McMaster, the regime is running out of time, running out of room to maneuver. Take a listen to what he said.
And this regime is so close now to threatening the United States and others with a nuclear weapon that we really have to move with a great deal of urgency on sanctions, on diplomacy, and on preparing, if necessary, a military option.
Officials here, Liz, are also keeping a very close eye on North Korea. Kim Jong-un has a habit of making trouble in the region when there are major diplomatic events happening in any other part of the world. He doesn't want to feel left out. Back to you.
Greg Palcott with the very latest. Greg, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
House Speaker Paul Ryan is putting together teams to find a solution for DACA, which protects thousands of young immigrants brought here to the United States illegally as children. President Trump, as you might remember, set a March deadline on the issue. That's when DACA will officially come to an end. Garrett Tenney here on the latest. And if you think about these teams being put together by Paul Ryan, it sort of proves that the deal that was announced earlier in the week by what I guess everyone's now calling Chuck and Nancy, along with the president, there's still a lot of details to this deal before we get to a real deal.
Yeah, there are a lot of disagreements still over exactly what was in that original not deal, if you will. But President Trump has been clear with lawmakers that he does not want to wait 6 months for this to be worked out. And that was clear this week when he had dinner with top-ranking congressional Democrats to discuss DACA. Following that dinner, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi raised a lot of eyebrows when they announced that they had reached that deal with the president. That was later walked back to simply an understanding of where negotiations would go from. Now, today on Fox News Sunday, Dick Durbin, who's the #2 Democrat in the Senate, laid out what that understanding entails.
We're going forward. We're going forward with the understanding that we can work with the White House to come up with an agreement that includes DACA, that includes citizenship for those who are protected under the DREAM Act, and also has a substantial commitment to increased border protection. Those are the two pillars of this understanding.
House Speaker Paul Ryan has been stressing that this will be a negotiation, and that's partly because among many conservative House members, any deal allowing the so-called Dreamers to stay in the country is akin to amnesty, which is something they have campaigned and railed against since the DACA program began. Republicans are now looking at what other items they can include in that negotiation, including potential items such as creating a merit-based immigration system. Senator Tom Cotton is pushing that idea, and on NBC's Meet the Press, he said that President Trump told him himself that he supports that idea and that any deal will put America first.
I think the president has said publicly that there's not a deal, that he wants to see a deal. In fact, he called me a couple nights ago to say there's no deal. He wants to make sure that we protect the interest of American workers. They want to focus on a package of benefits for illegal immigrants. We want to put American workers' interests first.
One thing that both sides seem to agree on, though, is that any deal with DACA will not include the president's border wall, but the president has said he still plans to pursue that issue separately.
Well, in telling that even in those sound bites, there's a lot of different words. Is it a path to citizenship? Is it a path simply to stay here legally? Still a lot of disagreements even about what they're really negotiating on. So this is far from over. Yeah. Garrett, thanks. Liz?
President Trump, as we just discussed, tests the bipartisanship waters, hoping to sign his first piece of major legislation. But some lawmakers are pushing back. When we return, we're going to ask our panel if Washington can break the gridlock. Plus, a contentious point in our great country's history, told on film for the first time, a preview of director Ken Burns' new documentary series about the Vietnam War.
Somewhere around 80% of our casualties came from landmines of all sorts. In Vietnam, for me, just to get up in the morning and look out at the land and think, in a few minutes I'll be walking out there, and will my corpse be there or there? Will I lose a leg out there?